Hi, welcome back to my channel. My name is Mad, and today we are going to be reading some of my most anticipated and maybe some of your most anticipated horror books for 2025. I think that it's more fun if we find out as we go what I'm going to be reading, but I am going to start with Overgrowth by Mira Grant. Good morning, everybody. I'm like 25% of the way into the Overgrowth by Mira Grant. I'm really enjoying it so far. It is like a 500-page horror book, though, which I feel like is a little long for horror, but it's also an alien invasion story, so we're getting a lot of lore, and I think that's probably at least partially why. We are following Anastasia. She is, when we meet her, a 3-year-old little girl, and she runs out of the door of her home. Her mom's not paying attention, and she gets enveloped in what is basically like a big flower, and it like digests her and pops something else out. It looks like Anastasia, it talks and walks like Anastasia, but it's not Anastasia, it's an alien. And she tells people that she's an alien from like day one, but she's 3. They don't believe her. They think it's from the trauma of her being kidnapped, because they think she got kidnapped. She was gone for 3 days, and she tells people throughout her life, even as an adult. She's, I think, 35 now, and people just don't believe her because they just think she's a little weird, a little quirky, a little crazy. She lives with 2 other roommates. She lives in Seattle. One of the roommates absolutely just believes her, and the other one is having a hard time believing her, obviously, because alien invasions are very scary. And she also has a boyfriend who believes her because why would she lie? And I think that's really sweet, honestly. And now they're at the point where aliens have made contact with humanity, and humanity is trying to disprove it as a hoax, and it's not happening. And Anastasia is really nervous because, like, she spent 35 years, wait, 32 years. She's 35, but she was 3. She spent 32 years being a human and not really knowing where she came from. So it's very stressful for her. I really like the writing so far. It could have been a little bit shorter of an intro. It's gotten a little bit long, but now that we're in it, we're in the alien part of it, I'm enjoying it. I'm like 2 more sections in. The book is broken up into like sections of a plant because the aliens mimic plants. They are like plant matter, and I think I'm on stem now. And Anastasia and her boyfriend Graham have figured out this alien signal has happened, and someone has intercepted it, but they don't know who, so they're trying to find them. So they take a trip to Portland, Maine, and they take a plane, and it's a little bit of an issue. They take a plane a couple times in this book where they very much shouldn't have. And they're allegedly not stupid, but that's very stupid to me. I don't know why they keep taking planes. It's the most governmentally tracked form of travel. I don't know. I know they're on a time crunch, but I still don't know why they wouldn't like drive or something. Anyway, other than that, I'm really enjoying it. This has a very light tone for imminent global doom, but it's still very fun. And they find this well funded but kooky lady who got away from one of these plants when she was a child that didn't end up converting her into an alien. And she's been trying to figure it out ever since. She's very much conspiracy theorist, but she's also trying to help Anastasia. And then they try and fly home, but the government gets her and starts doing tests on her, and this is accelerating her transformation back into like a plant person. She has also found in her dreams this man who is another plant alien on Earth, and his name is Jeff, and they start talking in her dreams, and then they connect in real life, and through that mind connection, that's how they get her out of this government agency. It's NASA. NASA has her captured and is trying to do tests on her. And now they're hiding out waiting for this alien invasion to happen. I'm just at the part of the day when it's supposed to be happening. So these plants get these kids or humans to come close enough to them to absorb them by smelling a certain way. And I feel like I wouldn't be tricked into a smell like that. Like an amalgamation of your favorite things. I think one of them was like fruit punch, chocolate chip cookies, and another thing. If anything could get me though, it would be brownies fresh baked from the oven, the Rockstar that's like 4 different flavors, and new books or stationery. That, I think that might get me. And a lot of this is analogies for different things, like Anastasia's boyfriend Graham is trans, and there's a lot of parallels between that identity and the alien identity that the author is drawing. Overall, I am enjoying this. At the end of this, I'm guessing I am going to give this like a 4-star, which is really great for me. I'm enjoying the writing. I think that if you're a fan of Becky Chambers, that this would definitely work for you. Sorry if you're crooked, I just spent like 10 minutes trying to adjust you. But I have very good news about All the Way Up His Death. I'm like halfway through and I am loving it so far. It is so much fun. I think if you like the movie Escape Room, you would love this. It's very similar vibes. They are having to work together to get through these levels and figure out what they need to do to escape and how to escape. And they're noticing trends like there's a tree in most of the levels. And only one person, the really crappy influencer guy, has figured out the thing that they need to do to move up a level, and that is someone needs to die. And 4 people have died so far. The first person that I really cared about, but like only a little bit, just died. So far, the main few people I care about are still alive. I am guessing that it's not going to come down to just one person. We're also following 3 people, and I really hope it's not those 3 people that are left, because there's other people that I like more. But we've had like the video game level, we've had a water level, we've had like a haunted hallway level, and then a creepy house level. And now we're on like a tropical island, and each level someone has recognized it. Like there was one where it was from a movie, and this one it's from somebody's home. And I just think that this is such an interesting concept, and I think he's doing so well with keeping it fun, but also being totally creepy and horrific. I wouldn't say the tone is light, but it is lighter than like the escape room movies or Saw. It's also definitely gory, but not over the top. I don't know. There's just something about this that I'm really, really enjoying. And I will probably come back to you when I finish it. I didn't give you an update last night because I was reading this until literally I couldn't keep my eyes open. So I have a few hours now and I'm hoping to finish it up. I finished The Way Up His Death, and I love that book. I'm giving it 4.5 stars. It is so good. It's like if the Midnight Library and Saw had a baby, and there were also aliens. It's just so gory, but so touching. I don't know, I've never really read anything like it. I'm always searching for an escape room-esque horror, but this one's also very sentimental, and I've loved sentimental horror in the past, and this one's no different. So, another win for Madison. We love that. And I think that I'm going to read a shorter book. We've had 2 kind of long ones right in a row. So I think I'm going to move on to The Unworthy by Agustina Bazterrica. Can you see him? He's perfect. I'm also like a third of the way into The Unworthy by Agustina Bazterrica. It's like a pretty quick read. This is about a woman who is in this religious order, and they're super strict. They get a lot of punishment. They don't really know what's going on in the outside world, but a lot of like catastrophes are happening. And this woman is trying to write her story and keep it hidden because she'd get punished if they found out. And it's definitely giving like religious drama. That's about all that's happened, and it's like under 200 pages, so I should be able to finish this one tonight as well. Okay, I have like 20% left of The Unworthy, and things have gotten even more bonkers. We are getting flashbacks of her experiencing kind of like the end of the world, essentially, when she was younger. She has a cat companion, and I don't think that's going to end up very well. And then we are also getting her with this woman has entered the convent. It's a new person. She is not popular in the convent. They think something is a little bit off with her. But our main character, their narrator that we're experiencing the story from, and the new woman is Lucia. Her and Lucia have developed a relationship, and they go off at night when they're not supposed to and get busy essentially, and also share their feelings with each other. I don't think that this could possibly end up happy. It's a horror, so that's not really what I'm expecting from it. But the tone is also kind of dreamlike. I can definitely follow the plot, but our main character is definitely not all there, not a super reliable narrator at all. And we're also experiencing this because she is writing it all down. and some parts are crossed out. You can still read them, but it's just struck through where she's feeling a particularly strong emotion. And one word that she cannot write is woods, and we have not found out yet. I am just about to read a very traumatic part that has been leading up to for most of the book, and I will probably just come back to you when it's over and give you my final thoughts. This book doesn't read like Tender as the Flesh at all. The narration style is very different, the writing's very different. It doesn't feel like the same author, and that's not necessarily like a bad thing. I'm not complaining, but if you're expecting Tender as the Flesh, that's not what you're getting in this book at all. It reminds me kind of I Who Have Never Known Men a little bit, especially the narrator and how she's struggling to navigate this world, and her inner monologue is just not at all with societal norms, and she's just kind of learning. I wouldn't necessarily recommend it for fans of I Who Have Never Known Men, but it's just the closest comparison that I can think of right now. Okay, I'll come back to you when I'm done. I finished The Unworthy, and I'm going to compare it to a couple of books that I enjoyed, but this was like a 3 or 3.5 star for me. It was really sad, and I don't know if I just wasn't in the mood for a really sad book right now, but it wasn't like fun and horror. It was just really devastating. And it reminded me a lot of American Rapture by C.J. Lead, or again, I Who Have Never Known Men. Very similar to that type of story. A woman just trying to survive in like an apocalypse situation. She doesn't grow up well, grows up very traumatically, and is just trying to find joy in the horror. And maybe I talked myself. It's not a 4 star, but it's like so close. I'm actually going to give it a 3.9. I talked myself up a little bit. It definitely didn't need to be any longer. It's fine as a short book. And I do think that I liked Tender as the Flesh, and you shouldn't just like compare books that the same author has written, but it's hard not to. I think that Tender as the Flesh is definitely a more for me book, and it's just horrific in a different way. If you really enjoyed American Rapture, I think you'd also enjoy this. I think that I'm going to go with The Starving Saints by Caitlin Starling. The Starving Saints by Caitlin Starling, I think, is going to be a book for me. I'm like 10% of the way in, and we're following a saint who has completely lost her faith. She is not really believing what the whole congregation is believing, but she is trying to help them survive and create miracles anyway. I think that she's kind of using science. It is set in a world without technology for sure. And they're experiencing kind of, it feels like the end of the world. I don't think that they can leave the convent, the location that they're in, and they are running out of food and water, as you would expect. And she solved their water issue like a month ago at this point, and it was just like cleaning the water because the water had turned rancid, was causing everybody to be sick. That's fine now, but they still need food. They're going hungry. And she's trying to create another miracle and figure this out. We also are seeing this knight, and she is like the right hand woman to the king. And the king has decided that this knight needs to observe what the saint is doing in order to help her along, make sure that she's working to her fullest potential. And the knight doesn't want to do this. The knight wants to do fun, cool, badass knightly things, and she's not happy about having to watch the saint. And they have just met, and they're both clearly just like unhappy to be in each other's presence, and I'm hoping it turns into a romance. I know that this is a horror book, but I'm really hoping that we get a sapphic romance, and we'll see. I also am really enjoying the writing. This is my first Caitlin Starling, and if this is typical for her, I am excited to read more from her. But yeah, for now, we are getting just like a taste of sapphic vibes and enemies. I'm hoping for the lovers part. I will see you when I have an update. Good morning. I thought we could make coffee and then I could talk about how The Starving Saints is going. It's going really well. I really like the writing. I really like the characters. I'm super, super interested on what's going to happen. So far, we've met Sarah Voyne, who is a knight, and she's just so angry and buff. The two big things that our other characters have noticed. Focine used to be a nun. She's committing these acts of heresy Mostly because she doesn't believe anymore, but also because she's trying to do what is essentially magic, it seems. In order to get this congregation to survive, King is expecting her to do more miracles, and she's trying to make food out of nothing. They have no food left. They're starting to eat people. And she's just really going through it. She's not eating. Her little apartment stinks. And she's just not having a good time, as no one would when they're starving and dying. And then the third woman we meet is Trayla. She seems to be really awful, very sadistic, but she's also a lot younger and acts even younger than she is. I think she's around 20. And I think that she's going to be awful and messy, and it also gives me the vibes that they're all queer and they're going to get into this like very messy relationship, and I'm so excited. They've been praying to these saints forever, and all of a sudden they just show up with all of this food, and the only one that seems to have any logic. I mean, I guess they all believe in these saints except for Focine, but Focine's like, where'd you get the food? How'd you get in here? And they can't seem to answer her and just like kind of take her as a prisoner. And then Trayla has been trying to escape this compound for a long time, probably in order to not starve and die. And we aren't really told why they're starving specifically or why they won't leave. That's unclear to me. Um, but Trayla has been trying to escape and like wormed her way through this like rock tunnel into this cavern and heard a voice and a breeze. So she's gonna try to figure that out, I guess. But the characters are really intriguing, the plot is really intriguing, and I'm having a really great time with it so far. I haven't had a lot of time to sit down and read, so although it doesn't feel like it for you, it's been a few days. I'm hoping that this weekend I'll be able to finish it and then a couple more books and then get this vlog up, because it hasn't been a lot of vlogging, but it's been a lot of time and I have other content that I want to make. I'm not really sure if we're set on Earth or if we're set in like a real time period for Earth, anywhere in particular on Earth, but I'm having a good time regardless. It's good. Okay. I'll see you when I have reading updates. Good morning. I finished The Starving Saints last night and it was so good. I loved it so much. If you love disaster lesbians or rot horror or cannibalism as a metaphor, then this book is definitely for you. Messy, it's disgusting, it's vile, and I think it's going to be on my top 10 horror of the year. This book is not going to be for everybody, but it was so for me. I'm going to try to talk about it without spoiling it since I read so much of it. But Focine the Witch and Voin the Knight have such a messy relationship, and then Trayla and Voin have such a messy relationship. Trayla's the younger woman who has this vendetta against Voin, and she also like kind of started a relationship with Focine throughout the book too, and it's just so messy, and like they're also fighting these not gods that are just doing awful things to their people, but the relationships are so messy. It's not like the main point of the book at all, but it was my favorite part. But it's definitely horror. Like, don't get it twisted. It's not a romance at all. It's definitely a horror book. There were some very disgusting scenes. It wasn't splatterpunk, but it was like approaching its way there. I think that if you liked Plain Bad Heroines or Hell Followed With Us, then you would really like this book. I am grateful for the arc and I'm happy I got to read it early. I think we're going to move on to something shorter because that was kind of a longer book. I think we're going to move on to Victorian Psycho. Hello! We are starting Victorian Psycho today. I just need a short win, basically, and I'm very intrigued by this one. The beginning, it has a picture and the title says, "In 3 months, everyone in this house will be dead." I don't know why that just sounds like something that I need to read right now, but it definitely does. Let me give you a quick synopsis. Winifred Naughty arrives at Ensor House, prepared to play the perfect Victorian governess. She'll dutifully tutor her charges. Drusilla and Andrew tell them bedtime stories and only joke about eating children. But the longer Winifred spends within the estate's dreary confines, and the more she learns of the perversions and pathetic preoccupations of the Pounds family, the more trouble she has sticking to her plan. I just need creepy from this. It looks creepy, it sounds creepy. If it's not giving creepy, this is gonna be a disappointment. I'm on to part 2 of Victorian Psycho. And you know those stories where we meet a woman and she's very normal, but we watch her descent into madness? This is not like that at all. She is insane from the get-go. She is unhinged, and it's a dual timeline where we're learning about her past, where she was both the abused and the abuser from when she was very, very young. And now she is this governess to 2 children, and then there's a wife and a husband that live on this estate, among other servants. And we're getting her internal monologue mostly, and it's just unhinged, very violent. She has these very dark urges, and the kids are awful. They're from like a rich family, and the parents are also very entitled and awful. But I'm enjoying it. It's absurd. The chapters are very short. It's a very quick read, and I'm loving it so far. Although right before part 2 happens, it levels up like 5 levels. It's absolutely insane. And I'm stressed but enjoying it. I would so far recommend this for fans of books like Mayfly, Boy Parts. Like, you're along for the ride. They are in a very unlikable, unreliable main character, but you're just kind of in it for the gory, awful time. People that should stay away from this though, if you don't like, I guess nobody likes violence against children, but if that's like a trigger for you or a deal breaker in a book, this is not the book for you. I would find something else. And I will update you when I'm done. Hopefully I can finish it tonight. If not, I will see you in the morning, depending on how much longer this takes me to read. Okay, I've just finished Victorian Psycho. This was so grotesque and silly. The ending was very slashery. We get a twist of sorts, kind of her backstory, her motives for serving this family. She's kind of like if Amelia Bedelia was evil. And I really liked it. I'm giving this a 4-star. It's not going to be for everybody, but I had a good time with it. I am also about ready to go to bed, but I will be starting Immaculate Conception tomorrow, and I'm so excited. It's one of my most anticipated of the year. I adored Natural Beauty last year, so I have really, really high hopes for this one. I haven't gotten quite as far into Immaculate Conception as I wanted to tonight. I went to this like vision board party at a romance bookstore in my town, and it was very fun. I'm very proud of my vision board, but I didn't have as much time to read. But I'm like 20% into Immaculate Conception now, and I'm enjoying it so far. We're following Anka. She's from the outer skirts of society. There's the fringe, and then there's the enclaves, which is like rich higher society, and she is going to this art school in order to escape the fringe, essentially. And she's there on a scholarship. She has to do technology-based medium for art because that's the scholarship she got. And she meets another first-year student, Mathilde, and develops this kind of obsession with her. Basically forces friendship on her, and it seems like it's a little bit more even now as we're going into their second year, but it's definitely one-sided. And she is trying to emulate her art style, her looks, her speech, everything. And her parents are like, hey, maybe be your own person, and she doesn't want to hear it. And we are bouncing between what is their past in college and art school and then the now, and we've only gotten a little snippet of now, and Mathilde is missing and Anka is at this benefit exhibit. We're not really sure yet. I think we're going to continue bouncing in between timelines, but it is very pretentious because it's set in art school. It's a bunch of art students. They're all pretentious, and sometimes that really doesn't work for me. It definitely bothers me a little bit like in Bunny, but this is reminding me of Bunny, but I'm liking it better. Anka is wondering right now if she should drop out of art school. She's feeling uninspired. They've just gotten introduced to AI art, and anything that is derivative of something that is showing up on this open source AI website for art could be taken legal action against. So you have to come up with something new, not derivative, and a lot of the class is struggling with it except for Mathilde. Mathilde is like up here in terms of like their art class, and everyone else is way down here. and she's just better than everyone else. I think Anka is a bit of an unreliable narrator and is putting her up on this pedestal, but it does seem that she is way more proficient than all the other students in the class. We haven't gotten to the technology where they share their consciences yet, which is what this book is described as, but I am excited to continue reading. I'm like 70% of the way through Immaculate Conception. I didn't get as much reading done last night as I want to because I went to the book signing for Shannon Lee and Fonda Lee's new book. It was really good. They were super funny and engaging, and I'm really excited to have the Greenbone Saga now signed, which is really cool. But as far as Immaculate Conception, this is less about two insufferable young women being very codependent, like I thought it was going to be, because it's also about grief and motherhood. And that's not to say that Anka doesn't feel in this constant state of competition with Mathilde. It is just all consuming for her. They have fallen in and out of contact over the last few years. I think they're in their 30s now. And it's just something that goes hand in hand with her friendship to Mathilde. And I think a lot of people have had that kind of friendship where you love them, but also you feel like you are always in competition with them and you always need to strive to catch up to them. And I'm really enjoying it so far. I would say that the truly like horrific sci-fi parts didn't truly start until like 65% of the way through. It's definitely set in like the near future kind of dystopian late stage capitalism world, but it's definitely set in our world. And the shared consciousness technology is just, we're kind of picking up with that. So I'm super interested to see. It's not a spoiler, I'm pretty sure it's on the back of the book that they share consciousnesses. That's been such a hard word for me to say when talking about this book. Let's say shared brains. That's so much easier. Their shared brain situation is actually one way. It's that Anka can see Mathilde's memories, not the other way around. And it's definitely going to produce some kind of like power struggle, I feel. And I'm excited to finish it. I will probably not check back in with you until I'm done with it. Okay, I finished Immaculate Conception. It kind of went the way that I thought it was going to, almost exactly. There were a few shocking parts where my jaw was literally on the floor, but it kind of followed the path that I thought it was going to. And her relationship with her husband was a bit of a surprise, him and Anka. But as far as the relationship with Mathilde and Anka, it got very one-sided, very controlling. The question of consent with this shared brain implant that they had was totally ruined, basically. Okay, my natural lighting is pretty much gone, but I just finished Immaculate Conception, and it went pretty much the way that I thought it was going to, very much taking away any autonomy Mathilde had with the whole brain sharing thing. Anka took super advantage of it, had pretty much no remorse until she was found out. And the one thing that was kind of unexpected for me was the way that Anka and her husband's relationship went. That was a little shocking to me. Anka is such an awful human being, and she was really frustrating, but in a way that I enjoyed to read from. And this reminded me a lot of a Black Mirror episode. I think that I've watched maybe a couple Black Mirror episodes like this, but I still really enjoyed it. I'm going to give it a 4-star. And that's all the books that I'm reading for this vlog. I would say that it's pretty successful. I mean, what, we had a 4-star, a 5-star, a 3.5-star, 4-star, and a 4.5-star. That's pretty good odds. Thank you so much for joining me. If you made it this far, please leave me a bee emoji for the Starving Saints, and I'll see you next time. Bye!